Hello? Oh, yeah. Just tasting.
Morning, everyone, and welcome to our Heavenly Parent Holy Community, Oceania Hoon Dok Hae. And today we have Debbie Bruce, and it's the first day of our 11th 40-day condition. It's Saturday, 19th of March, or the 17th of February in the 10th year of Chongil Guk. And we'll begin by offering a bow to our Heavenly Parent and true parents. Chariot, Kyombe, Paro. And since Reverend Utaka is traveling, now we're going to ask Reverend Kenji to offer the family pledge in Korean, and I'll do English. So thank you.
가족만세 1. 정길국 주인 우리 가족은 잠사락을 중심하고 문외한 땅을 찾아 원원의 전조 이사인 디산천국과 전산천국을 전공할 것을 맹세하나이다.
Family pledge number 1. Our family, the owner of Chongil Guk, pledges to seek our original homeland and build the kingdom of God on earth and in heaven, the original ideal of creation by centering on true love. I'd like to also ask Reverend Kenji to offer the opening prayer. Thank you.
Please join me in prayer. 사랑하는 하늘의 부모님과 승리하신 사랑하는 존재인 참 부모님, dearest heavenly parent and the victorious beloved true parents of heaven and humankind, today is the first of the 401, the 40-day morning devotion period. Since we celebrated the 400, the Oceania, Heavenly Oceania morning devotion yesterday with the Pleasant Holy. So we made the landmark to start the new 400 days. And surely Heavenly Parents, they're pleased to see the unity since we have developed we started the 40-day morning the devotion centering on Reverend Utaka Yamada, who they transcend every day for the Oceania to unite and beyond. And we are so grateful that we've got such a wonderful leaders who show the loyalty, transcend, and heart of hero piety to heaven, and show us the way for us to go as well. And we pray that we are able to really respond to your expectation to each of us to become the true filial sons and daughters. Heavenly Parent, since you lost the children in the very beginning of the human history when the human fall occurred, so you never be able to share your heart with the children, and the only begotten son and begotten daughter grasped your heart in depths and show us the way. And now we got the true parents of heaven and humankind revealed all your truths and your heart to humankind, and we are the one who received such tremendous the truth and grace and love through our beloved true parents as a first fruit. And let us, Father, multiply the fruits that we received, Father, sharing your love and the truth and the blessing, so that we can multiply the citizen of Chongil Guk, so that we can substantiate Chongil Guk on earth and in heaven, so that we can create the world where no clue of the satanic influence anymore. That's the further state of the Cheongguk that you have been the wishing for, and let us create step by step, starting with the mind and body unity in each individual, and unity in the family, unity in the tribe and the community. And here, the Oceania, Heavenly Oceania, the Heavenly Parents Holy Community is the have to be a role model to share with the other community and the nation and the region, and let us further build up the spiritual momentum to create the culture of heart, so that the people can naturally join in to establish the Cheongguk realm in substance. And today, so we are going to have the first day of the another 40-day the morning devotion, and I would like to welcome and invite you to be the center of the Father, this morning devotion today. And thank you for everything that you they arranged for us. And thank you for the Reverend Yutaka Yamada and Reverend John Damdes, and all brothers and sisters, making this occasion as the wonderful Father opportunity to nourish our spirituality. I report all those things in the name of Kenji and Kiko Tanabe, in the name of Blessed Family, on behalf of all brothers and sisters gathering together here. Aju.
Thank you. Let's give a warm welcome to Debbie as she shares with us this morning. Thank you.
Good morning, everybody. Thank you for that beautiful prayer. My husband's helping me today with the technology, so I'll try to do my best.
Okay.
So this presentation is from the Cheongguk book, and I'll just read through it and then speak about it a little bit.
Can you guys see that now, or are you seeing that dark screen, John?
No, we're seeing the small slides, not full screen yet. Yep, there we go. Yeah.
Let me just go back.
Okay, the presentation is called The God of Heart, and you're going to go to the next one.
Yeah.
Today, with what heart do we venture out? With what eyes do we observe the world? With what senses do we feel? Well, before you think about this, you should pray. God, as I lead my life, I'm dealing with these kind of sensations.
Want to say something about that? I'll move on.
No, move on. Yet I want to lead my life understanding the heart of Adam and Eve towards you prior to the fall, the heart they had at the time of the fall, the heart you experienced when you had to expel Adam and Eve, the heart with which you toiled hard for humanity for 1,600 years until you called Noah, and Noah's heart as he worked for 120 years, bearing ridicule and persecution, holding on to heaven in order to build the ark on top of a mountain. I want to know your heart throughout all the twists and turns of history, and hold on to that heart. The question is how to empathize with God's feeling in our daily life. When you are alone, you should be able, without forethought, to call out to God, Father. Then you will hear God's reply. Yes, I'm here. If you are one with God, that's how it will be. It seems that no one is around but leading you and guiding you. If you live such a life, you never question God's existence. Knowing this, you cannot desert him. Even God has emotion, intellect, and will. If human beings whom God created have emotion, intellect, and will, then God undoubtedly has these attributes as well. We earthly human beings are the descendants of fallen ancestors. However, we originate from God's lineage as his direct children related by blood. For this reason, God's heart toward us has intensity greater than that of any parent looking for his or her lost child. God sees us weeping bitter tears for the earth, collapsing and dying in pain and lamenting in deep sorrow and grief. All of these images are etched into his heart. Any individual, family, or nation that ridicules, oppresses, or kills virtuous people will not last long, because God will remember their deeds. Hence, whenever we shed tears, we should know that God is also shedding tears. We should also know that whenever we feel furious and bitter towards an enemy, God is sharing tears of forgiveness. God does not take revenge on an enemy and say, "You scoundrel, I'm glad you're dead." God does not strike us because he does not consider us his enemy. God is struck first, then claims what is his. You should be the same. Because of us, God has had to endure the miserable course of the providence. We need to understand God's heart and history, always wanting to say to us, "I want to talk to you." God does not forget us. He waits for us. So we have to think to ourselves, God, when can I participate in your providence of restoration? We have to find the platform on which we can live together with God. We have to find the way to think like God, speak like God, and act like God. God is the creator of all things, but he is also our Father. That true Father will come to find us. No matter what difficulties we may face, we have to keep going. We have to persevere as we overcome the twists and turns of destiny to grasp our Father's hand. We have to persevere until we call out with our last words, "My Father," with our hearts overflowing with the hope that he maintained throughout history and we maintained throughout our life. We have to march on, even if we face the path of death. In the last days, when a group of people appears among humankind that runs excitedly to the Creator and absolute God, calling him "My Father," God's new providential work will begin. What is the ultimate purpose behind our striving for higher goodness, greater beauty, and deeper love? It is to build a relationship with the heart of God, our Creator. As we do, we need to examine whether agreement exists between God's heart, which moves based on relationships in accord with heavenly law, and the human heart, which moves in accord with human morality. We find that they are often in conflict and discord. Morality today is going in a different direction than that taken by heavenly law, which manifests according to the path of their providence. This is the result of the fall. We must comprehend the sorrowful fact that the heart of God, the heart of heavenly law, and the heart of human morality are in conflict. When we grasp that this is the real situation besetting us, our society, and our world, we have to halt on the path on which we have been walking. We need to envision a world of creation revived. Envision the heart of the Creator. Take a second look at the reality of our society and review our mind and body. Otherwise, the world based on a new teaching and a new heart will not appear in human history. If you want to be a brave soldier for God, you have to know God's heart. After all, if you want to be a patriot, you have to know the King's heart. If you want to be a son or daughter of a filial piety, You have to know your father and mother's heart. Naturally, you have to know God's heart if you want to be a brave soldier. Oh, I think you already know. You have to know the heart of God before the creation, his heart during the process of creation, and his grieving heart after the fall. You have to understand the sorrowful heart with which he has been leading human history towards restoration, and his heart of hope for a new world after restoration is completed.
Okay, that's that. So, John, do I stop sharing now if Debbie wants to talk? Oh, oh no, go.
You can stop sharing, and that way people just see Debbie. Yeah.
Oh,
I can stop it for you if you want. Oh, there you go.
So anyway, I felt that that was very moving. And there's a lot of content there. It's, you know, but I was reflecting on God's heart, and about a year ago, I'm an aged care worker. I take care of the elderly and disabled people. About a year ago, I had to go to a client, and he was Chinese man. And he was like a sergeant in the communist army. Honestly, he was. So every time I'd go there, he would yell at me and scream at me. And the moment I walked in the door, he would control my every action. Whatever I did, he would tell me how to do it, what to do. And he even damaged my hands, because he would make me, when I was washing the kitchen benches and stuff, he would make me wring out the rag, and he would yell at me, "You have to wring it more, you know." Now he was a man that he was probably in his 50s, or he wasn't really old, and he had only one leg, and he was on dialysis 3 days a week, so he wasn't well. But I complained a little bit to my coordinator, but I decided to continue with him. And I thought about Father when he was in prison, and how Father just loved people and served them, and you know, he did so much sacrifice in prison for us and for everyone. And I sort of thought, oh, I have to do this. I have to continue with him. And this is what Father felt when he was in prison. And so I just kept doing whatever he said, and eventually he became a little bit gentler towards me. And then he, even when I came to his house, he would greet me and say, "Oh, Deborah, hello, Deborah," like that, you know. And so little by little, he sort of eased up a little bit, but not too much, really. And so the interesting thing was, I think I persevered with him for, I don't know, 6 months or more, I guess. And then one day I was dusting his, well, one thing is, the funny thing was, he lived in a small apartment, and everywhere there were books, religious books. They were all religious books. And I thought, what is going on with this man, you know? And so one day I was dusting his bookcases and all that, and I saw True Father's autobiography. I couldn't believe, you know, that after all going through all this, then there was Father's autobiography in his house. And I said to him, I said, where did you get this book? And he said, "What book?" I said, this book. And he goes, "Oh, I don't know. Somebody gave it to me. I don't know." And I thought, oh my God, you know. I said, well, did you read it? Did you read it? And he said, no, I haven't read it. And so I thought, and then not too long after that, he died. Not too long after that, he died. And I thought, my gosh, you know, I went through all that with him. And then there was Father's book in his house. And I thought, well, maybe, just maybe, because of, you know, building a relationship with him and serving and caring for him, maybe he might have read that book before he passed away. I don't know. Anyway, I have had only one other client like him, and that was a woman who was the daughter of the Lady of Waiting, who was the Tsar of Russia. So, you know, they have sort of military attitudes, and they don't treat you well. They don't treat you nicely. So anyway, I felt that this reading was, you know, God's heart. God has had to suffer with us, with mankind, watching us suffer. And he was really a suffering man, really suffering. And I just hope he can be in a good place somehow. And I do hope that he did get to read Father's book. So that's it, I guess. It's not very long. But the words of the reading really touched me. I really am touched by that reading about God's heart. And I can tell you one time when I was with my son and my husband at a big, huge market, and there were lots and lots of people there. And my son, somehow we lost him. And that was the most devastating thing. I couldn't see my son in this huge crowd of people, you know, and I just was in solid panic. Where's my son? You know, so I'm sure that that's only a small feeling that God had towards us, you know, through this reading, how God lost us and how desperate God felt to find us again. So
That's it.
That's it. Is that too short?
Whatever.
It's okay. Thank you, Debbie. Thank you for sharing that reading of Father. And I was reflecting on that as well. The words that stood out for me were heavenly law and heavenly morality. Yeah, that God is the God of heart, and yeah, truly, yeah, He loves us unconditionally, and we have heavenly law, and it's interesting. From heart is the core, God is love, and we know that in the future, yeah, love will be the law, and so how does the law? Heavenly law manifest itself, because the law we have today is based on human morality, not on heavenly law. Our law is based on what I want and what others want, and if we're not being just, which is different from being fair or equal, then there's consequences. So you break the law and you pay a fine, or you go to prison, or in some states in America and some countries around the world, the crime could even, you know, have a death penalty. So the consequences of breaking the law are severe, and yet when we look at heavenly law, it's all around relationship. And the core of the relationship is how much love is shared, is between each other. So I mean, there's a huge gap between our human morality today because of the fallen world and God's absolute law and absolute love and absolute faith in us. And so I was just seeing how to change that dynamic. How when will because Father predicted that in the future that there won't be need for lawyers or judges or things like that. It will be all within the family, and all problems will be resolved with the heart of love. So how that process comes, how do we get love into law? From God's perspective, it's already there. I mean, it's from the very, very beginning. God's law is the way in which we're meant to relate with each other. Yet, because of the fall and our selfishness, we have to force other people to be just to others. And then, so anyway, I was just reflecting on that, huge difference, because in that reading, Father said that those two things are in conflict, and yet God just loves us, and takes the strike, and doesn't complain, and just waits for us to understand his heart, because once we understand his heart, then everything changes, the relationship changes. And unfortunately, it looks like in the world today, the only way we can understand God's heart, because we don't choose it readily, is there's some sort of suffering happens, or calamity happens, or something that forces us to think outside of ourselves and to really notice others. And those things are happening all the time with war and with disease, that is prevalent. We still have to be pushed out of ourselves to really appreciate and love others. And God is waiting for us, I believe, to get to the point where we do it naturally, and that's that word empathize that was in that reading as well. We really get to the point of empathy, then we realize that we're just the same, and that our goal is to become like God. So I was just thinking and reflecting about that, and thank you, Debbie, for sharing that reading, and I'll open it up to others. Thank you. Yes, Mr. Wright, go ahead.
Good morning. Thank you, Debbie, and your wonderful, beautiful kind of daily testimony, and we can see some different kind of people every day. And so you had a client, is quite a difficult person like Chinese, and maybe character, the histories, many things. But then we all very often, maybe if we do not join a church, we do not hear this principle. Just we just just say bye bye. But we try to love, we try to serve, we try to if you love them, and so you are trying this way, and he little by little getting gentle, and that kind of experience he did, and he died. He went spiritual out. I think even a small and that is great for him. And I think you done good experience, and you love him, and you pray for him, and I think he was quite lucky man. Anyway, thank you. Today you are wonderful. It's a testimony today. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Rai. And you have your hand up there, Chris and Debbie.
Yeah, it's Debbie doesn't elaborate too much or express as much as she could. There's a lot of points there for me this morning, so I'll take a little bit of time. And the first thing is, she didn't convey to you at all what it was like. That man, if she was cleaning something and the corner of the rag touched the floor for an instant, he would scream at her, "You stupid, idiot, foolish woman. What the hell do you think you're doing?" It was incredible. I would hear this, for 6 months, this would come back to me. Every time she cleaned with this guy, he was absolutely out of control. But as she said, a suffering, dying man. So anyway, she didn't quite convey the intensity of the situation. But okay, so what struck me this morning, John, you don't understand how profound that sharing was, because the one sticking point Debbie had in that speech was that difference between God's artistic law and humanistic law. How does it work? And she said to me, "What is this talking about?" And I really couldn't explain it properly. So you explained that very clearly, and that was really amazing. And the other thing I'm struck with is, once again, the profundity, the profound connection between, that Debbie just picked out that saying, and here we are, the first time after the 400th day, and what is it talking about? I want to hear your voice. I want to talk to you. It's just no accident. It's incredible how closely related to what God wants from us that these morning devotions are. I just keep getting stunned by it time and time again. And just one little more thing. A few times ago, when I shared about the value of subject and object from a speech, and I hope it's connected this morning, is that part of what was said, it talked about the value of objects and all that, and finding objects that can really love us. But actually, I missed the most important part, and it said, it's not about how people act. It doesn't matter how you act. So we try to be good. We try to do the right things, but that has no meaning if you don't love people. If people don't love you back. I'll give you this example. Like, a gangster's wife can love him if he's good to her, regardless of the life he lives. She loves him, above that. She doesn't say, I can't love you because you're, a person who does evil things. If he loves her, she loves him back. So it doesn't matter how we act. Acting doesn't make people love us. It's the actual love. So, now you listen to this, and it's so challenging for me because I live with a saint. Debbie's a simple person. She doesn't have highly intellectual sharing, but she is a saint. There's no way in this world that I could ever do what she does. I can't do it. I'm miles behind her, in a development of heart and caring for people. So anyway, that's my 2 cents worth. Goodbye.
Thank you, Chris. Yes, she's a saint. Yes. Yes, no, go ahead.
Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Yes, that's like loving your enemy. That is such a big challenge for us now, for me anyway. When we're young and first new in the church, everything was blissful. You can do anything, you can love anyone and forgive. As we grow older and not reading Father's words every day, you kind of become like everybody else in the society. And now we are relearning what we began our spiritual life in the church with. And everything is there. You know, we go back and read Father's words now. It's like we haven't heard it before, but we did. We've just forgotten it. And this is how rebirth, you know, our process of rebirth is by reliving, by revisiting Father's words that we heard many years ago and that we had forgotten. But the main thing is how to love your enemy so they can voluntarily submit to you, you know. And of course it's true love, but it's so hard. It's so hard these days when people, like, you know, truly hate you, and how to overcome that. But I guess it's just remembering Father's words, remembering Father's life course, and yeah, and just focusing on nothing else but love and forgiveness. But yeah, I was just amazed in reading Father's words, you know, before the Hoon Dok Hae, centering on the reunification of Korea. You know, yeah, it's incredible. Like, he tells you just how it is and how it would be in the future, and it just amazes me how True Mother is just substantiating, putting it in the substance, the words of Father. And it's just amazing how people don't see that, you know, people who are not thinking that True Mother is doing the right thing. What I see is that True Mother is truly just following that Father had talked about, but, you know, making it a reality. Yeah. Thank you.
Thank you, Na. Thank you. Yes, Kim, go ahead.
Yeah, thanks, Debbie, for that. Yeah, I had a conversation with somebody just recently about empathy, and whether it was in relationship to somebody who had a spouse who didn't seem to have empathy, and they were struggling in their blessing. And, you know, the discussion revolved around whether we can learn empathy or it comes natural, because there are people we meet in life who seem to have a greater sensitivity to others and their situations, and then others who don't, and whether that's a sort of a natural thing, or it's a product of their youth, or like we had one little kid that my daughter grew up with. He was always very sensitive to his mother's needs and everything, and then I looked at some other children and they didn't seem to, you know, they just go about their life kind of oblivious to what was happening around them. And so yeah, empathy. So if we take that into the spiritual realm, you know, in terms of our connection with God, or thinking about God, you know, that's again, you know, it's a sort of a thing that because the core of the principle is thinking about God's heart and basically having that empathy towards God, but everyone has different degrees of it, of empathy. And also sometimes, you know, we put up barriers, because sometimes if you're very empathetic, then it hurts too much, you know, to take down the barriers. And that's true in our relationship with God as well. You know, if you to embrace fully the reality of this world and the situation, you know, you'd never get off the floor. Yeah, so thanks, Debbie, for that. I mean, Father's speeches are so profound, but sometimes it's not even, you don't want to go too deep because sometimes it's just too painful. Thank you.
Thank you, Kim. Thank you. Yes, Silvana. Sorry, I can't hear you.
Can you hear me now?
Yes.
Hold on. I'm sorry because I was using the. Can you hear me?
Yeah, can hear you.
Okay. I just wanted to thank Debbie for this morning. I have known Debbie for ever since we came to Australia, and she always. I don't know if this is because she's humble or she's not confident, but she never allow people to understand how incredibly good she is. Like she would brush off. If you try to tell her something, she brushes off like she's good for nothing. She will always try to portray a self that is not real. She's an incredible woman. And so I'm so glad that today that beautiful Debbie was there in full display for everybody. I worked in aged care years ago for a few years. In fact, I worked with Debbie as well in the same facility. And I ran away. I literally ran away from aged care. And now listening to Debbie's testimony, I can really understand that at the time, to me, I did not, I wasn't looking at, I had a completely different approach to the whole thing. I was just working. There was no understanding God and people. I was just working. And it's not a job you can do if you don't have, if you don't do it with the heart of God, really. You cannot survive such a difficult, because you have so many different clients. Debbie mentioned one, but what when you have many like that, and that is also possible, or not necessarily like that, that was quite a unique person, but there's so many, you have to adapt and listen, and really, it's very difficult, very, very hard work. So I think Debbie has this beautiful heart and an incredible consistency, because she's still there, she's still doing it, and she's still serving, and I'm amazed. And another thing about that reading, about this morning reading, I really struggled. I'm always challenged in the area of forgiveness in terms of forgetting. So I come from this island in Sardinia. I come from Sardinia. There is a history of, well, we call it the feud. I don't know how you say that in English, but if 100 years ago, a member of this family killed somebody from this family, 100 years later, they're still killing each other. They cannot forgive. It's just really hard. And so I always struggle to love the unlovable, to forgive when I'm hurt. And so logically, we know that God is a God of forgiveness. Like logically, we know everything. But this morning, when Father's words were, when God has a heart of vengeance, no, sorry, when you have a heart of vengeance, God has a heart of forgiveness. It really hit me. And I also remember when I read Mother's speech, Mother's autobiography, she said, when I forgive people, God heals my wounds. And I don't know why I keep forgetting that. So today, that was such a good reminder. And also what, yes, yeah, sometimes I even question, is it right for me to love this person that they're doing such a bad thing? but I can see that it doesn't make sense. You love people because you love people, not because of what they are doing. Otherwise, God would not love anybody. Anyhow, so thank you very much, Debbie, and that's it.
Thank you, Silvana. Thank you.
Hello.
Yes, we got Matapa. Yeah, go ahead. And then Margaret after that.
So Kim, well, I was going to say Kim just opened up a can of worms, but actually it was already opened up in our Hoon Dok reading about empathy. So, yeah, I just wanted to allude to my testimony I gave the other day. You know, I really struggle with that, Kim and others. You know, I would pray when I was younger, you know, when I came to realize, you know, and the world around me that I was, you know, I was very empathetic and I was feeling this, and then I was questioning, you know, with them asking myself, you know, why is it only me? Like when I would hang out with my cousins who I grew up with and my siblings, you know, they would do naughty things, and to me, I would feel I would never do that because of the how I would hurt the other person, you know, just things like that. And anyway, so I would always ask, you know, why am I the only one feeling like this? There's no one else feeling like this. And then I would ask God, you know, I would say to him, you know, like, oh, why have I got this kind of heart? I don't like it. I don't want it, you know, and but I seem like I'm stuck. It seems like I'm stuck with it. And so after yeah, just kind of thinking about the content of my testimony, I came to, you know, understand quite a few things about empathy, and that it is something that, because we're born of love, out of love, we already have that in us, but it's just it varies, like Kim said, and many people, there's a greater awareness, or like it's more grown or matured in others, and some than others. I feel like I had it. I mean, I sensed that when I was very young. And the reason for that, I think, is because it's inherited from that empathy, or the magnitude of it, or the level of it, sorry. It's inherited from people who were like that in your ancestry. And so, yeah, so it gets passed down to, when it came to me, it was already kind of, you know, blowing. And so, yeah. But then, you know, my pain was, well, how come I have it and others don't, you know? And not so much, sorry, yeah. Yeah, no, that's what I just wanted to share about that. And also, what's your, Debbie? Oh, Debbie, forget about what anybody says. If your husband thinks you're a saint, that's all you need to know. Your husband knows you more than anyone else. One day, my husband, I hope my husband will call me a saint. You know, he said he's loved me, you know, but yeah, okay, that's this level is down here. I want the saint. You're very lucky, actually, Debbie, because you know, in your life experiences, you see this and feel this, but it's your husband that explains what all that is. So you two are like, man, you're lucky to have each other. You're lucky to have that wonderful man next to you. I just wanted to say that.
Thank you, Matapa. Thank you. So true. Yes, Margaret, go ahead.
Oh, I just love it. Thank you, Matapa. That was wonderful acknowledgement to Debbie. And it was so beautiful, Debbie, the way you read. It was just so nice to hear a feminine voice reading Father's words. It was very nice. I want to just reflect on, we just had Hyojenim's anniversary, and when Debbie was reading Father's words, I was thinking of True Parents' pain. And True Parents have felt God's pain much more deeply than I have. But in the context of Hyojenim passing, I had an opportunity at UTS to have a dean of student. Her name is Sun Hee Davis, and her father is True Father's first cousin. and we were able to have opportunity to listen to Sanhi sharing about Hyojinim. And one thing that she shared that I wanted to share with everyone was that Hyojinim, when he passed, Father gave him a calligraphy, which was a filial son. She explained to us that what that meant was, as an eldest son, he had the ability to bring all the siblings together. He had the strength and the ability to, when they fought, he could pull them all together and made them aware of the needs of true parents. So when Hyojinim passed, it was a great pain for father and mother. The elder son, the leader of the siblings, passed away at such a young age. So that in his anniversary, I was reflecting on that pain true parents were feeling, but because we don't get into that realm that true parents can share of what they went through, but that's just one of the sons that passed to the spirit world. And so we have our true parents' pain with us that can help us understand our own pain with our blessed families. And right now, I just cannot imagine what it's like for Heavenly Parent to feel about what's going on in this war or the number of people dying. It's unfathomable for me. I can't fathom that pain that God has seeing his children. I want to go beyond just the political part of what's going on and the external things of what's going on, but how does a parent feel about their children fighting, and not just fighting, but killing each other? And so much more for true mother. I pray to understand if she even is able to sleep. So Heavenly Parent is invisible, but true mother is visible, and we know that she is suffering. So that's how I can connect to this pain of God, especially through true parents' own pain. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, everyone. Thank you, Margaret. It's time now for us to offer our unison prayer. So I'll just share the screen and let's pray together. Thank you. Thank you, everyone. Thanks again, Debbie. Thank you. And see you tomorrow. Enjoy your day.
Thanks, Debbie.
Thank you, Debbie.
Thank you very much, Debbie.
Thank you, Debbie, today.
And your helper.
There are also Chris.
John and Chris. Chris.
Good morning.
Okay. See ya. Bye.